call the meeting to order. Ask for a motion approving the minutes of the last meeting. Motion by Bill Kenny. I saw him wiggle his nose there. Second by the mayor.
Early in the morning, right?
All in favor?
Aye.
So let's see, new business, park construction update. Jeff?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I've got a few photos I took end of last week. This was after all the rain we had last week, and Bill Laney's here from Clark Patterson. He's going to give an update on the village contract that's underway. I'll pass these around.
Good morning. As of yesterday, the main project is moving along. The restroom building, the footings have been poured. The contractor is currently doing the rebar installation for the sidewall. They will put the forms up on that as soon as the rebar is in place. Potentially a concrete pour next week. We have a good month in November. The contractor's goal is to try to get the building up and get the shell enclosed so that they can continue with winter construction. Obviously, that's weather dependent. We're getting into cold weather and have to take special precautions with concrete pours. The cutting edge contract, which is basically the earth moving, the landscaping, they're currently on the south parcel doing what we call the box out for all the pathways. They're excavating the earth material and they're placing crushed stone for the pathways. That excess material coming off the south parcel is going over to the embankment adjacent to Route 9 on the north parcel. They're trying to get that close to finished grade and securing all of that open space for the winter season. The stormwater retention ponds are grassing in nicely, and things are going well. We just hope that we can get through this without Mr. Murphy showing up on site. So far, so good.
What about are you gonna put grass on near Route 9 on that fill?
Next year.
It'll be next year.
That will be seeded.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it won't be the turf.
They have put their sediment control and stormwater control measures have been erected to protect the ponds that have been built, and they're going to take some additional measures to try to button that up for winter.
Okay. Okay. Any questions on any of this, Jeff?
I'll just give an update on the festival space contract that the county administered. We're working through final payment to VMJR. There is going to be some remaining funds in the contract. The bids came in under engineer's estimate, and then the contract is coming in under budget. Those funds will be redirected into some of the follow-on contracts that are working on the rest of the park. So, but all is good, and we anticipate some final payments to VMGR in the coming months.
Okay. So we get on to discussion the festival space fence and event stage needs. Mayor Blaze.
We had three priorities after the summer, and that was that we discussed at the last meeting. And number one was fence around the perimeter of the festival space, and number two was a stage, and number three, of course, was signage on Route 9 and the Beach Road. The signage that we need on Beach Road and Route 9 and the funds for those were included in the grant that we're presently waiting to get the final contract from. So there's enough money in there, we believe, to design two attractive signs for the roads to advertise who's there. That's been a big problem. But what I did was I reached out to 7 of the individuals who are contracted to do shows at the lake next year, and had a meeting in Saratoga with them at Elan Planning and Design on Wednesday. And Elan brought in 2 architects to the meeting, and we went over what they would like to see in a stage. just so we could get a feel of what we're looking at here, because one stage doesn't fit all. For instance, Alex Lombard was there from the Symphony, and we had Jim Anderson, from the fellow who does Alive at 5 in Albany, who's one of the top promoters in this area. John Strong was there, Dave Emmons was there from Improv Records, Sean Quirk, who did the Rock Fest. And we met for almost 2 hours, and they went over with the architects all of the various elements that a permanent stage should have. And from that meeting, I've asked them to prepare a proposal to us to go ahead and come up with a conceptual design for a stage, so that we could have enough information to apply for a grant in the next round of CFA funding, which is expected to be next May.
Yeah.
And unlike the fence, the stage, talking to the folks in Albany, is a tremendous economic boost. Without a permanent stage, it'll be difficult for us to compete with other festival spaces, with fairgrounds, things of that nature. So I think we should be successful. I think that the stage is not going to be inexpensive, but when we get the proposal, if we can find the funds to go ahead and at least design it conceptually, come up with a cost estimate, so we have enough information to present for a grant, I think we'd be successful. And perhaps we could match it with some in-kind services. And the promoters that I've been working with have all offered to get together and do an event for us next summer to raise money for the stage. So,
For a match, if we get the grant.
yeah, we certainly wouldn't have a permanent stage by next summer under any means. But there would be a possibility we would have one in 2016. In the meantime, I met with Mr. Moving Stage Man, I forget his name. He's a local fella. He lives on the east side of the lake. He was the gentleman who provided the stage for the 2 events that we had there. And he's building another stage because obviously he sees an opportunity to use the stage here. But he provides the stage for Albany and Troy during the week. And I've asked him to submit a quote to us that includes sound, so that if we use him for our events, everyone gets a better deal. For instance, if we've got, in one case here, 3 weeks in a row, we've got a music festival, he can leave his stage on our site. The price should be more attractive to the folks that come to use it, because it's not an inexpensive item. But the fence and the signage is absolutely necessary.
Let me interrupt
for
you
next
a
year,
second.
yep.
The permanent stage is gonna have a roof over?
Yes.
Yeah.
The basic things that I heard that number one, you need a dressing room area on one side, and you need a storage area on the other. You need a large area around the stage to park their trucks. They need to pull right up in some instances and back up to the stage. And also, if they arrive in a big RV, as 2 of the bands did, they want to be right next to the stage. They don't want to be further away. So that's all taken care of. But they went over lighting, no sound, but they went over lighting needs, height was important, being able to expand the stage and make it larger with other elements, and also to divide the stage so that one group could be setting up while the other is playing, so there's no lapse. So they covered all that with these 2 architects, and my understanding is Alon is going to contact one and get quotes for us and see if they can put together a conceptual drawing. But, and we wanted it obviously to blend in with the, restroom building that's gonna be on site. You know, we didn't want one, that looked ultra-modern or whatever. We wanted to have the same architecture as we see in Shepherd Park, or perhaps the building itself with stonework and stuff. So they'll come forth with a quote for us for our next meeting. The fence, however, I've got 14 groups booked. You've got a schedule in front of you. Everyone is under contract with the exception of, the craft show. And, some of the new ones are the North Country Brew Fest, which was held at the Queensbury Hotel for the last few years. I reached out to Bill, and, I'm meeting this afternoon with the Hudson Valley Firemen who are interested in using it, for their convention in, Lake George. And yesterday, we did a tour of the, festival space with Americade. And so they could take a look at it and see what the pluses were and negatives. And Christian Dutcher called me this morning and said that they were interested in renting it as well. So, out of all of those, and one of their first questions was, where's the fence? They don't have a fence, because they put their fence up around the $1 Million Beach. And we got some quotes, from people to come and erect a fence, and it's in the range of $4,000 to $5,000 per event. It's not inexpensive. So, what I did was I went ahead and asked Lon to prepare, some, things that this committee could look at today. We had a meeting yesterday of the PMEC meeting, and our committee looked it over with, Jeff's engineers there. And you have a handout that shows you the different types of fencing that's available and the cost related to installing each of those various elements. And I'll let Fred take over from here, because he was at the
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, and also, you're meeting with these promoters. They expressed the, preference for this Omega fence.
Yes,
And the third
he actually
page.
brought a sample of that to the,
Yeah.
he actually brought a sample of it to the meeting yesterday.
Right.
It was a fence that, there's architectural designs that you can install on it, that was included in this quote, but it's also, the one that would, blend into the park itself. It doesn't look quite as large as the others. The height was important, so people couldn't lean on it, or obviously try to jump over it, even though, you know, they probably will. But that was the one, and I think yesterday our committee more or less,
Committee
decided
expressed a
that
preference for that one also.
that was the one we'd like to look at.
Yeah, with the possible having a more decorative one right near the main entrance. And I think you said, Mayor, that this quote did include 3 gates, and we figure we don't need 3 gates.
Yeah, you'll see on the end there, he included 3 gates.
Yeah.
The most expensive one is the main one, and we don't need that gate when there's nothing going on. The park needs to be open to the public 24/7, and when we have an event, all they're gonna do is open that gate up.
Yeah.
So waste $5,000 to $6,000 is not necessary. But when we discussed it, obviously we need to, we hope we can move ahead with it, and of course the big question is, where's the money gonna come from
Yeah,
to
and we talked about the possibility of a grant application, but I think the consensus was that that's not likely to get funded as a grant. So since we don't have the money to do it now, then I think our best option is to bond it. And, Mayor, didn't you say you had some numbers for, bonding it?
We have around $21,000 in the, maintenance, our fund now. If all of these groups sign up for next year, we could expect to, have revenues of somewhere between $35,000 and $45,000.
Right.
We wouldn't have to make a payment, on, any bond until 2016.
Sixteen. Right.
So we would have another summer under our belt,
Mm-hmm.
basically, to fund the fence.
Right. The way it's filling up, I mean, it appears to be likely that you're gonna fill in all these other dates for 16. Of course, you don't know that for sure.
The other thing
Jeff?
The other thing we're anticipating for 2016 is revamping the fees. You know, the mayor's been successful here in booking this partial park with a festival space that's gonna continue to be under construction, so I would anticipate that we'll not only be able to fill the rest of the weekends in 2016, but we'll be able to, discuss restructuring the fees, and certainly during the peak season of July and August, those fees would be reasonable to increase from where they're at now,
Mm-hmm.
Considering the park will be essentially complete.
Well, I figured up, because the original cost without the design and everything was right around 140,
Right.
we did a loan calculator, and the payments would be around $30,000 a year at 3% interest, which the village's share would be right around $9,000. The county's would be about 18. I would just remind you that, the village certainly, we can certainly afford, the $9,000 if we didn't take in a cent from the space. But I would also remind the county that, the projections on your parking lot's gonna come within about $2,000 of what
Yeah.
I projected. You're gonna be taking in probably around $80,000.
$80,000. I mean, to me,
So
that's great that parking lot, you know, not even built yet, and took in $80,000, and a lot of that is, I'm sure, due to the events that were there at the festival space and the off season.
Yeah, I'm not sure it was 80. The only figure that
Yeah.
we have, of course, is the cash. The county takes care of the credit cards,
Mhm.
but it's 59,000 is
Okay.
cash, so I'm sure the credit cards
Yeah.
were pretty darn close to that. So the parking lot has been extremely successful.
Right.
And the more successful, we have events there, and we can be competitive with other places, the parking lot is gonna do even better. For
Right.
instance, Americade yesterday is thinking about renting the parking lot as well as the festival space, so I think that's something that you just have to think about as far as fees go. So,
That was a 5-year bond?
that was a 5-year bond.
Right.
Is that legally what we're limited to on a fence like that? Or is
Well, without getting into issuing serial bonds, you can do 5 renewals of bond anticipation notes. I think that's
I
what
think
you're
you
thinking.
could get 10 on a fence, but, I don't think there would be any need for that, not with the
Mhm.
cash flow I hope that we get, so.
Right.
But that's the fence really, should be our top priority. It wasn't included, as you remember, it was in the original
Right.
estimate.
We took
but
it out.
We had to take it out because we were trying to come in budget, but as our contracts have been let, and you just mentioned yours, and the contracts with, Cutting Edge and all, those all came in under budget. So I think we can find some funds there as well,
Mhm.
so that we don't have to take a lot of money out of our pocket. That would be the goal.
Well, so if we wanna move, it seems to me, from everything the mayor has said, and from talking with these promoters, that the fence is just a critical element of the festival space, and that, so we have to find a way to move forward. And I think the only way we can move forward now is to have this committee pass a resolution that we wanna go forward with a fence, and send it to finance with a request to approve bonding, and specifically bond anticipation notes. That sound right, Mayor? And then you would have to do the same thing at the village?
I would,
Right.
yes.
Yeah. Since all these promoters want a fence. But then the other thing is this committee approves the Omega fence that the PMEC supported. So I guess we got three of us here
Yeah.
that like it, so it's nearly Bill.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you. Any second? Second by the mayor, all right. Okay, any further discussion? Anything else we need to decide? No.
Questions?
Any questions about it? Anyone else, chairman or budget officer? What?
Isn't the money from the parking lot, some of that money, shouldn't that go back to?
That's what I have always thought, but I think, through the DPW committee, I was hoping when we started talking about doing the parking lot, that at least some of that revenue would go towards this project, because this project is generating some of that revenue. But the DPW committee's position has been that it all goes to the general fund, but, I mean, that's something you can talk about in finance. I think it's over our pay grade here at this committee, but. Okay, any other discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye, opposed, carried. Okay, village event expenses.
We didn't bring those.
Well-
Did
They're in
you
the
get 'em?
packet.
Oh, you got them, Jeff?
Okay,
Well, I guess Dave,
Yeah, we
tell me what they are.
Well, let's see what we've got.
These are basically
Oh,
the
these are the
expenses
events.
that we had, helping these groups here, including erecting fencing.
Yeah, we just had, Porta-John costs in here, erecting fence cost. Obviously, we know the light poles don't have their own source of power, so we, rigged up a generator for the two events. So I just have man hours in there, and Porta-John cost in there right now for, the Save the Lake Festival, or the Lake Music Festival, and then the Rocktoberfest.
mhm. Well, both of those expenses, they'll be actually, you won't have that kind of expenses once you have the restrooms built.
Yeah, and that's just it,
Yeah,
it's this
and
year,
electric.
and if everything goes well throughout the winter, and those
Mm.
restrooms are there, and the fence is able to be erected, prior to the beginning of next season, we really don't have these costs. We have our normal O&M,
Right,
costs that we'll get into, once that agreement's, reached, throughout next year and
mhm,
continuing on, but these are more one-time event costs
right.
that we have,
So the total is $3,549.50
$49.
for the expenses, and we turned in, $7,500,
Mhm.
from the events.
Mhm.
But none of these will be existent once we get the
Right,
parking operation.
right.
Right.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve it. I'll make the motion to approve these bills. Seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye, opposed, carried. Okay, then, joint application update. Jeff?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. The kind of a smaller working group has been, trying to achieve, an agreeable joint, application. And, the village started that process and then passed a joint application on to the county attorney, who has revamped it some, and then we've met last week and had a really good meeting,
Mhm.
discussing really the nuts and bolts of receiving an application and all of the various informations that we may or may not want, depending on the application or the applicant and the nature of the event. So that's still in process. Our goal is to get something established this winter, so that all of the, in the near term, all of the events that the mayor has already booked in here can receive the updated application. They know an updated one is coming, so that we can make sure that we've got all the information necessary in those applications. I am anticipating, asking the committee to delegate some authority to me to sign on behalf of the county, and the mayor will sign on behalf of the village, to make this process more streamlined and in line with all of the other various permits that are already signed on behalf of the county for festival space and other events or highway uses. Of course, those permits would be coordinated through the county attorney's office, and then we'll be giving updates to the Park O&M committee as we go forward. But, it is quite an undertaking, because this is a new and more complex process than certainly the county has been engaged with, and I think the village too. This is a larger and more complex space than we've ever had to manage.
Mhm.
So we're taking our time and doing a lot of brainstorming and making sure the application is complete as possible. And then we'll be back to committee with a recommendation to adopt a joint application.
Right. Okay. So I guess that's it for new business. I don't have any old business. Mayor, do you have anything?
No.
No? Okay,
I don't have any updates on the referrals.
okay. Privilege of the floor.
The only thing I would bring up, Mr. Chairman, is, I met with, Kevin Hajos and myself met with Jim Gerard from, Green Management about the overseeding and fertilizing of the festival space. I was hoping to have a proposal today, but we don't have one yet. He would like to aerate it, do some overseeding, fertilize it, and then apply like a layer of sand for the winter on it. So he has some recommendations that are coming forth. I don't know, how we wanna go about trying to approve that, obviously now, 'cause I don't have any prices on it, but I think it's something we need to get done before the first snow, and that's Jim Gerard's recommendation
Right.
as well. So we should see a proposal soon, but, we would need to move on that. I don't know if we're just gonna consider it an O&M expense and move forward with it, when we get the proposal,
Yeah.
or where we need to go with that.
Do you have any sense of what it might cost?
No, and that's what I said to Jim,
Yeah.
and he said, let me work it up and I'll get it right to you, and Kevin was hoping that, he would get it and be able to get it in my hand before this meeting, but it doesn't come forward.
I think, Mr. Chairman, if we can get the proposal prior to finance.
Right. You can approve
Really,
it
the only
there.
challenge would be if we have to move money out of our, revenue, codes, or the event revenue that's coming in from the mayor's collected. If we need to move any of that money into a contract code, we can. But I know I'm not sure, does the county have a contract with Jim Gerard now?
Yeah, well, that's,
the
Kevin was
village?
using them because they currently have a contract with, I think, Parks and Rec for
Okay.
things.
So as long as we have a
That's why.
contract,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of getting
Okay.
that quote.
Yeah, and we've used them, the villages, currently has a
Yeah.
contract with him
Okay.
for fertilizing, and Kevin said that's perfect, 'cause we do as well.
Alright.
And so we came and he made his recommendations that, we have got a sizable investment, obviously, in that festival space in that field, and we don't wanna see it.
We
Mhm.
kinda knew that this was coming, because it is new turf.
Yep.
Right.
And it's its first winter season, we wanna
Yeah.
make sure it goes into the winter season as healthy as possible, so we're all
We have,
recommending that.
we have the money from the liquidated damages. Couldn't we use that? Liquidated damages
I
from
don't know that we can access those
the side.
right yet. I think it's a legitimate park O&M, we're gonna have similar expenses, obviously, going forward. We'll have, weed and pest control, as well as fertilizing expenses on a regular basis in the park. So I think this really is not a capital expense so much as a
Oh, no.
maintenance expense.
Okay.
The treasurer gave me an accounting before the meeting of what there was there, and this was before we turned in the 7,500. It was like 20,000
Yeah.
in that balance.
Okay. So maybe what we should do here then is to pass a resolution contingent on a finance approval, saying we approve it. Okay, so I'll make the motion by Phil. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Okay, anything else? If not, then motion to adjourn.
Good.
Second. All, aye.
Get up early every morning and make all
Okay.
the motions and
Yeah.
everything.
We're done.
Makes you a big shot, huh?
Yeah.